Welcome at yet another Tech Talk. Today we'll be talking about Purify. Bruno, you're the Purify guy. Well, that at least that's one hat.
Yes, but I'm one of them because Purify is simply PU purchase, RI Risbo, and Phi, like Phi is an hi-fi.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Purify was started by three people, which is Lars, myself, and then Peter Lingdorf.
Okay.
And then we were quite soon after joined by Carsten Tingholt, who was previously the chief engineer at Peerless.
Yeah.
So this is why sort of I more or less attend to the amplifier part and Lars to the driver part, although there is quite a bit of crosstalk between them.
Yeah, but it's quite, the name is quite nice because Purify, it also means
that's
to purify.
Yes, exactly. That was Peter's idea. The only complaint that I have is that people spell it incorrectly and they put a Y at the end. No, it's Purify with an I at the end.
Yeah, that's totally something different then. Well, we're here to talk about one of your latest products. It's the Purify EVAL5 Deluxe Mono Kit. That's a mouthful, and then I'm not naming the exact
amplifier module
because
don't even bother. We actually started with the type numbering. If anyone's curious, is the one at the front. It says it's a one-channel module, and then ET stands for Eigentact.
Okay.
And then the 90 is the peak output voltage, and 40 is the peak output current.
Oh, that's how you.
That's how it is. And then previously, let's say we started with wattage, but that's such a fluid concept. Whereas you can quite clearly define what the maximum output voltage is, and you can also quite clearly define what the maximum current is. So that's why we changed that numbering scheme. Yeah. But
quite new is that this is what you call a second generation Eigentact amplifier. So, what's wrong with the first generation?
Well, nothing. There's nothing wrong with the UCD, and there's nothing wrong with Encore. So it simply is as you go along. Whenever you design a new module, you don't just do an exact copy. You always try and see if is there something you wanted to fix, something you wanted to improve, and so for instance, this particular module, it's a bit larger than the previous ones because it's what they call BTL, bridge tied load. Yeah. And the reason for that is not so much that we were fans of bridge tied load, but we had a lead customer for a particular project, and I mentioned during an earlier talk that hi-fi companies very often seek something to differentiate their amplifier from another amplifier, and in their case they claimed that their company DNA was in the use of bridged amplifiers. So I found it rather amusing because they had quite smoothly made the switch from Class AB to Class D, but they stuck to their guns when it came to the idea that both ends of the speaker wire needed to be driven by a piece of circuitry. But anyway, it was a well-known name, which I don't think people will have much difficulty guessing. And we thought, well, okay, we'll cave into that and we'll do a custom version for them. But luckily, and counterintuitively, they did not request exclusivity. So they said, well, if after a while after launching this thing you want to sell it separately, go ahead. And so we made our own version of it. And whilst working on it, it's just that there is a forum somewhere on the internet where people are extraordinarily fixated on signal to noise ratio, And so I thought, well, in that case, why not? Why not reorganize the modulator such that I can get lower noise? They should be excited about that. And then you go like, hang on, if I do that, then I can do this, and then I can do this, and then I could actually I might actually be able to get some more loop gain out of it and actually get distortion down as well. Ooh, nice. So essentially, it is as said, a pure evolution from from Eigentact, lower distortion and lower noise, and in the case of this particular module, also higher power. But to my astonishment, and it's a bit silly that I keep getting astonished by this every time I do a new amplifier generation, that was still an audible change. I thought that I thought that by now distortion was low enough for it not to be audible at all. No. It was audible. It's not like a day and night difference. That of course is I just don't think that I can keep claiming that there's a night and day difference. There isn't, but there was again a bit more space and a bit more warmth in the sound. So so all in all, worth the effort.
I think you're being quite humble right now, because we are in the privileged situation of having both an MXA 8400 which has 8 Eigentact modules of the first generation, and we have 2 EVAL5 kits, so it's very easy to A/B, and we did that with a lot of speakers, and then you hear that it's not just a small step forward. No. It's the best thing that you've done until now on power amplification.
Yes, but if you've done the best thing you've done, and then you do another thing which is slightly better, then that's the best thing you've done. So that's rather logical.
Yeah, that's true.
But
it keeps stacking up.
But yes, on the other hand, you do listen to more than just the power amplifier is in that on that different I mean I touched on it earlier. The amplifier module itself has a pretty low gain, pretty low input impedance, so you cannot just connect the outside world directly to the input of the amplifier module. Yep. So you aren't just listening to the amplifier module. You're always listening to some form of input stage, which is different in the in the 8400 than in the EVAL5. I mean, you already mentioned sort of that it's got the deluxe name on it.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was so. It was one of those moments where I just feel a bit devilish, like I've expressed several times my frustration with the whole fascination with input buffers. I mean, there is a reason for that fascination, because they do have a fingerprint on the sound, and some more so than others. But a couple of years ago, someone sent me a YouTube video by a fellow who was ranting at the fact that I dared design speakers and D2A converters as well, and he was predicting that the D2A converter, my then newest D2A converter, would really not be at all good. It was a Mola Tambaki. So we know how that went. So and he also said, look, he makes great Class D amplifier module, but he can't even make an input buffer. I said, no, I just on purpose, I don't try to outdo my own customers in that single thing that I give them as their place to do magic in. But well, by now I'm becoming so vocal that the whole monoblock amplifier as a product category is slowly becoming access to requirements. So I lost all my compunctions and decided to do an input buffer.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, so it's just one of those. It's just one of those old hobbies that I carry for along with me since my Philips days, making the occasional discrete op amp, and it is just becoming ever harder to do a discrete op amp that can shake a stick at the latest IC op amp. But there still turns out to be some things which can improve over ICs, in particular the input impedance and how it interfaces with the outside world. Again, not very important things in the grander scheme of things. But if you are sort of myopically concentrating on the sound of just the amplifier, then they still register.
Yeah. But the thing I like about you is when you design things is the goal that you set for yourself is, well, I just want to get every last thing out of it, out of the music. That's your goal. Getting every note, every sense, just a one-on-one of the input signal, and you're getting closer and closer and closer.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm trying to do, because on the one hand, I'm sometimes confused or taken for a classical meter reader, as it used to be called in the 90s. So you had the golden ears and you had the meter readers, and in the 90s I was one of the golden ears. And and I seem to have shifted towards the meter reading end of the spectrum, but not really, because the people we poo-poo with the name meter readers are usually just people who throw a 1 kilohertz tone at an amplifier and then measure the THD plus N and then declare the amplifier to be good or not good. Whereas for me, the fascination has been into finding out just in how many different ways a measurable artifact can arise, and how you can be creative about making measurements that actually show things up that previously everyone said, oh, you can't measure that, and then you find a clever way of combining test signals or measuring specific parts of the circuit or so, and all of a sudden it's there clear as day, and you have and all of a sudden instead of on the one hand congratulating oneself on having heard a tiny difference, and on the other hand despairing at the fact that there are no measurements to prove that the difference was real. Suddenly you can but whenever you stumble onto one of these new surprises and you say, okay, that's it now, because that means that you can actually now use it as a tool to actually start designing designing. So in a way, what I always look for is on the one hand, I want to refine how I measure, so that so that it makes sense in relation to what I hear, because I'm still a fanatic listener. I'm a proper audiophile. I'm just but it's just that I don't like the idea of either dismissing sonic observations as all between the ears, and neither neither do I like just hearing differences without knowing what underlies it. Because it's almost like people relish the fact that some things are apparently mysterious, is that they somehow derive value from the fact that it is mysterious. Whereas I think I think it's an admission of defeat if you can't say. It's perfectly fine to say, okay, I've noticed something and I don't really know why. That's fine, but you have to go looking, and your goal has to be to find out why, because that makes you the better designer.
Excuse me, the following questions, because they are like standard hi-fi and reviewers questions along the compartmentalizing.
No, okay.
But as we know, the EVAL5 kit is in terms of power very generous. Generally, it's like 750 watts at 4 ohms.
Yeah, something like that.
So, does this more power that you have available, does this have a positive influence on firing up a two-way stand mount speaker or passive woofers? Does this? I
would say not anymore. But there is definitely, let's say, historically a reason why people liked power amplifiers which were much more powerful than they would ever need. I mean, most people never ever clip their power amplifier. Audiophiles, that is, who have big systems and big amplifiers, and so it just doesn't happen. But if you look at the linearity of a power amplifier without any countermeasures against distortion, i.e., without feedback or anything else, then what you will find is typically that distortion is quite low at low levels, and it just gradually increases as you grow up, and the result of that is that you actually feel sort of the limit coming well before it actually comes on an amplifier like that, and so some people who are steeped in the in this low feedback design methodology or ideology, I would actually call it, they'll talk about the first watt. Like if distortion is unobtrusive at 1 watt, then this is an amplifier that you can listen to music to. And of course, I mean that is clearly the case, because you rarely need much more than that, unless you have very small speakers and you want to play very loud. If you have big speakers, they don't need a lot of power to play loud, which is counterintuitive, but it's true. No. But that's not a hard and fast rule, but you can absolutely design an amplifier so that its performance is pristine right until the edge, and then it clips, and that's the level we are playing at with Eigentact. So in actual fact, if you don't need the power, there is another module out there with half the power, which is called oh god, I need to remember the name. 1806525. There you go. Oh. That is essentially the same modulator circuit as that used in the big one. It's got pretty much the same distortion profile, pretty much the same sound. So if you don't need that big power, then you might just as well build a little stereo amplifier with 2 of those on 1 power supply, and you get exactly the same result.
You anticipate my next question. Where does this concept of a mono power amplifier come from? You have like stereo power amplifiers, but is moving every channel into a separate box with a separate power supply, is that technical a better approach?
Well, I was for some weird reason I was actually pondering that question just yesterday, and the best answer I can come up with is again historic. Is that nowadays, let's say, if you're anyway interested in high performance audio, you'll use differential audio connections, i.e. balanced connections. But that wasn't true until maybe certainly not 2 decades ago. That's when people were still using RCA connectors. And if you build, say, a Class A amplifier, the classic construction that you would use there is called a star ground, so that you have your power supply, which has but where the big buffer capacitors are connected to that star ground. You've got the input ground, the input cable, which is connected to that same point, and you've got the speaker returning to that same point, so that all the big currents that are flowing there don't get added up to the input signal, and thereby causing distortion. Now, it becomes pretty hairy if you then want to put 2 channels inside one box, because you can't have 2 star grounds. Because if you do, you still have those 2 unbalanced cables with their ground connection sort of joined together at the preamp. So if there's any voltage differential between those two those two star grounds, then you get a current flowing and you get a ground loop. So then you will have to sort of figure out how to share a star ground between two channels, which is just get more and more complicated. Whereas if you build mono blocks, you can actually keep those two star grounds galvanically isolated until they are connected together via the preamplifier, and then you no longer have sort of, because you don't share a power supply. So the return currents from the power devices aren't returning partly through another channel's wiring and so on. So that's when you. So my best shot at the reason why historically mono blocks were actually a good thing, or even dual mono constructed with separate transformers and everything separate in one case. That was also sometimes. I mean, that's really because of the use of unbalanced connections. But it also shows how silly the idea is to make an audio connection with two wires, one of which is both acting as the voltage reference and as a current path for connecting the two chassis. So that there is clearly a problem if you do it like that. But if you have balanced connection, and especially the way that I think there are still quite a lot of power amplifiers out there where sort of you come in with a balanced connection, and then there's a little circuit in there that turns that into a single-ended, and then again you're down to using star grounding internal in the box. But what we do in our amplifiers, and I think I don't actually do much reverse engineering or any at all of competing products, but I think it's become quite universal that every signal is treated as two wires, not one wire and ground. So you've got the input signal, that's two wires, and the signal is the voltage difference between those two, no matter how those two relate to ground. The output signal the feedback signal is again two wires that go to go to the summing node and so on. And as a result, you can use the ground connection as an absolute dumping ground for all rubbish and noise that your amplifier produces, because the signal is always explicitly separated from that ground, and you always know which two wires are your signal. So if you look at any of our board layouts, you will actually find every analog trace has a second one going right next to it. Every component, resistor or capacitor in the control circuit has another one sitting directly next to it, which is its differential counterpart. Not symmetrically, by the way. So we fold the circuit like that, so that it's always together. If you fold it like that, you get something that looks very nice on a photograph, and that picks up noise like nobody's business. So we fold it like that. Yeah. So at that point, you cannot get this 120 plus distortion figures in a power amplifier if your signal path is in any way sensitive to the switching that's happening right next to it. Because I mean, you've got the modulator, and a centimeter further is a pair of power FETs doing up to 40 amps and doing up to 200 volt swings. So if there is any cross coupling between those, you'll have distortion. So you need to. So if you've solved those, then having two power amplifiers share the same ground is not a problem.
Well, congratulations on designing the EVAL5 kit. We did already a first look on it, and we were quite amused and quite delighted with the result. So if you are into Class D amplification, you should definitely put that on your short list. This was This Tech Talk. Bruno, thanks for talking us up or talking us by. I don't know what the exact...
The exact expression is talking all four legs off a donkey.
Well, there's your unusual end of a tech talk. See you at the next one. Bye-bye.